So we live in an age of science and we have phenomenal technological advancement in today's world. So we may sometimes even think, in such an age of science, why do we need anything like spirituality? Why do we need scripture or such wisdom texts at all? So broadly we can say that there are different bodies of knowledge. Science is the study of matter. Spirituality is the study of what matters. Science is the study of matter. How do various material objects function? How do they interact? And this knowledge is very powerful. However, material knowledge itself doesn't tell what matters, what is really of value in life. That is a matter of values, that is a matter of ethics. Albert Einstein pointed out that science in itself is neither moral nor immoral. It is amoral. Amoral means science itself does not contain any moral directive within it. A person with, say, the knowledge of the nervous system can tell us that if you are having some pain, you press your nerves over here and it can relieve you of pain. That same person can mislead and they can press the nerves in such a way that somebody might get a paralytic attack. Now both kinds of knowledge come from medicine, from biology. But now what is right, what is wrong? What is of value? That is a different body of knowledge. Einstein said that we can talk about the ethical foundation of science, but we can't talk so much about the scientific foundation of ethics. So there are two distinct things in life. There is what we live for and what we live with. So suppose you see a neighbor suddenly rushing out from their home and rushing to their car and driving fast. Where are you going? He says, I'm going to put gas in my car. Okay. But after that, where will you go? Then I'll go to the next gas station and put gas in my car. Okay. But after that, where will you go? Then I'll go to the next gas station. No, but where are you driving? Say, I'm driving to the gas station. That's strange. Now, obviously, we need gas for driving a car. But gas is what we drive with. It's not what we drive for. So, similarly, in our life, there are many things which we need for living. That is, the resources. So, and those resources are very important. Say, if we consider we need food, clothing, shelter, we need air, water, we need some respectable position in society. All these things are needed. This is what we live with. But what do we live for? Science can provide us better and better resources to live with. But what to live for? That science itself doesn't tell us. Through science we can develop technology, and through technology we can have access to all the knowledge in the world, as it happens through the internet practically. But millions of people use this knowledge, just spend their time playing video games and watching videos and basically not doing anything worthwhile. So what we live with and what we live for are two distinct bodies of knowledge. And the study of matter can give us more and more things to live with. But what to live for? That is the study of what matters. And that is what spirituality provides us. And in the normal course of our life, we don't even think much about what is it that ultimately matters. Because we all have certain things which matter immediately. I have to get food on my table. I have to take care of my family. I have to get this job done. I have to meet this project. But sometimes certain crisis comes in our life. And at that time, we start asking, hey, what is it I am working for? So the Bhagavatam is spoken at such a time when there is a great king, Parikshit, and he is cursed to die in 7 days. Philosophy actually begins with looking at death in the face. Because at one level, death is the ultimate meaning destroyer. Everything that we work for, it will be ripped away in one ruthless moment at that. So then the question comes, what will make my life meaningful? What is it that makes life worth living? So that is this question with which the Bhagavatam begins. Parikshit is about to die in 7 days, and then at that time, he hears from the great sage, Shukdev Goswami, that there is this world, and beyond this, there is the source of the world. All of us are souls, and as souls, we are on a journey of spiritual evolution. So, our consciousness doesn't come from our physical shell. It comes from a non-physical, non-material core within us. And that soul goes from one life to another lifetime on a journey of spiritual evolution. Spiritual evolution essentially means that our consciousness expands to perceive bigger and bigger realities. A small child, their reality is basically, his or her reality is, I want some games to play with, I want some toys to play with. That's all. As we grow bigger, as we grow older, we said, okay, I have to get a career, I have to have a family. But as we evolve further spiritually, we think, okay, this is good, but what more? And that's how when we start thinking of the ultimate reality, then that is when we evolve most spiritually. So we are parts of a whole bigger than ourselves. That whole is known by different names in different traditions. The Bhakti tradition from India knows that whole by the name Krishna. So Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Puran, Bhagavat refers to Bhagavan. That is, the Bhagavatam says Vishnu, Krishna, Ram, these are various names of that absolute. And it is to devote ourselves to the absolute, to devote ourselves to the Lord, and to learn to live in harmony with Him, so that ultimately we attain love for Him and attain His eternal abode. So we live in a way, broadly speaking, the Bhagavatam says there are two aspects to our life. There is connection and contribution. We live in a way that we become connected with the ultimate reality. And then we live in a way that we contribute in this world. We contribute in a mood of service. We all have certain talents, certain resources, certain abilities. We use them in a mood of service. So what we live with is all our positions and possessions in the world. But what we live for is connection and contribution. So now there is a time for both of these in a life that is spiritually progressing. And Parikshit, he's about to die. So what matters ultimately? It's not just winning a bigger kingdom, getting more wealth. He realizes that spiritual evolution is that what matters. And when he is about to die, at that time, he hears the Srimad Bhagavatam, which draws on stories from various parts of existence at various times, all for that one purpose of helping him to establish the connection, to focus his mind in devotion on Krishna. And the Bhagavatam has 335 chapters. Out of them, the heart of the Bhagavatam is the 10th canto. The 10th canto has 90 chapters, which are about Krishna and his Leela in the world. And the whole idea is, if we want to fix our mind on someone, we want to hear more and more about it. But at the same time, whenever we want to go on a particular path, one thing is go on this path, the other is don't go on this path. Just like a doctor normally gives two things. There are prescriptions and proscriptions. Okay, take this medicine, do this exercise, and don't eat this food. Don't, maybe if somebody has heart problems, don't smoke, don't drink, whatever. So prescriptions and proscriptions. So in the 10th canto, the whole story of Krishna will be told, where the prescription will be facilitated. Fix the mind on the divine, on Krishna. But what are the forces that distract us from Krishna, from the things that really matter? So those forces, how they distract and how we can protect ourselves. So the 9th canto contains many stories which illustrate this power of temptation and distraction. So broadly, there is the force of devotion which can take us towards the divine, and there are anti-devotional forces which can take us away from the divine. And these are broadly classed into 6 categories. There's what we call as the 6 inner enemies: lust, anger, greed, envy, pride and illusion. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. So now this particular story, which is in the 9th canto, this talks about how one may get distracted by lust. So the whole idea over here is that there are biological drives which everybody has. See, there is a biological function, there is psychological obsession, and there is spiritual distraction. So all living beings do the basic biological drives. That is, we human beings are, if you look from a biological perspective, we are designed in a way that we survive and reproduce. So survival and reproduction. So this is explained in the scriptural sense that for our survival, we need to eat, we need to sleep, then we need to defend ourselves from danger. So this is all for survival, and then there is reproduction. So this is a biological function. But we humans are designed in such a way that we seek more pleasure than what the body can naturally offer. All living beings are just driven by their biological drives. So for example, a bird or animal, when the mating season comes, the hormones within them are stimulated, they get attracted, and then they mate and they reproduce. So when animals feel hungry, they'll hunt for some food, they search for some food and they eat it. But we human beings, we are designed in such a way that we seek more pleasure than what the body can naturally offer to us. See, one example of that is, say, eating. With respect to food, if we consider, a cow will eat the same grass day after day, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. Generation after generation, cows keep eating the same grass. But we humans, we don't just keep eating the same food. We have created hundreds of cuisines and hundreds of items within each cuisine. So when we want the pleasure of eating, but we want it with more and more varieties. So this is an indicator that since the soul is here, the body is here. And through the body, the soul can get some pleasure. But in the human form, our consciousness is so evolved that just the bodily pleasure is not enough for us. Now, when this bodily pleasure is not enough, what do? Broadly, there are 2 options. One is we look for some non-bodily, non-physical pleasure. Look for some non-material pleasure. Is there something higher in life? Or we look for material pleasure in newer and newer ways. Because whatever pleasure is naturally available, that is not enough for us. Just not satisfied with that. The soul, the Atma, is said to be Sat Chit Ananda. It is naturally joyful. And joyful means it's joy seeking constantly. When the soul realizes its spirituality, the soul becomes naturally joyful. But right now it is constantly joy seeking. So the idea is the soul is here, the body is here. Now either we can look for more sense pleasure, or we can look for something more than sense pleasure. some higher form of pleasure. These are the two broad paths in our pursuit for pleasure. And as long as we are captivated by the pursuit of, by the hope that we'll get more and more sense pleasure, then we don't look for something higher. The nature of worldly pleasures is such that the pleasure appears to, when it is not available, it appears irresistibly captivating. But when we get it, it turns out to be momentary. The Bhagavad Gita says that yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonayevate. That it is adi antavantaha kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. That adi antavantaha kaunteya. That it is temporary. This is 522 in the Bhagavad Gita. It has a beginning and it has an end. And dukkha yonishu. That it is the pleasure itself is the womb of trouble. From the pleasure, trouble will come. Why does that happen? Because when we get attached to the pleasure and then we get obsessed with it, and then eventually it's temporary, it ends, it goes away, and then we feel disheartened by it. So now this theme of how seeking more sense pleasure can distract, that is illustrated through the story of Yayati.